Good afternoon. This is John Inglet, your professor, and we are going to talk about Buddhism, part two. We're going to move into the Mahayana Buddhist tradition. So I think I have the screen shared. Mahayana Buddhism views themselves as the greater vehicle. This is in contrast with the Theravadan Buddhism, which the lesser vehicle is how the Mahayana Buddhists refer to the Theravadan tradition, and they stereotype it as the Hinayana, 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 which means lesser vehicle. Here we have a picture to the side. This woman is about to give a prostration. Thus her hands are at her forehead. She's going to prostrate in the picture. And she's just a regular person. That's what the Mahayana Buddhist perspective is. It's opened up to the community. Karuna, compassion, as significant as Bodhi, wisdom. Here we have a quote: "A guard I will be to them who have no protection, a guide to the voyager, a ship, a well, a spring, a bridge for the seeker of the other shore." We have the focus on compassion as just as important as wisdom. This ultimately is called the Bodhisattva ideal. Bodhisattva ideal. From a Mahayana Buddhist perspective, anyone can achieve nirvana. Reverence and deity worship of Buddha do happen in many of the sects of Mahayana tradition. So we're moving away from I turn for inspiration to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha to I go for refuge to I almost worship. So there's a sense of worship that seems to happen in the Mahayana tradition. Buddha would call this skillful means, or the Buddhist tradition would call that skillful means. Skillful means. There has to be some method of connecting to Buddhism. And if the culture already has the existence of deities, then Buddha will find a way to connect in many ways. That's from my perspective. I think this idea of why there are so many Buddhas to worship in other traditions has to do with the person, the individual, and the individual ultimately has to start with a tent underneath them. Otherwise, the weather will get to them. And then once they've established themselves under the tent, then they can remove the tent if they like, or give the tent up to other people so that they too can understand the process. Once again, the term bodhisattva is humans or celestial spirits. Spirits is not the right word. Humans or celestial beings who refrain from Buddhahood to help others achieve the same salvation. So let's say I'm a bodhisattva. I'm going to not become a full Buddha. I'm going to hold back. And why do I hold back? I hold back to benefit other beings, help other beings along the path. I think of this sometimes from a Western perspective of a coach, somebody coaching a basketball or football team, or a golf. The coach is the bodhisattva that's helping the players achieve a level of status. We can think of other things besides coaches that just came to my mind. A concept in Buddhism that's pretty complex is called shunyata. That basically means the emptiness of phenomena. Shunyata means emptiness. And this goes back to the idea of things cannot be permanent. If we look at a chair, for instance, we know it's made of wood. Then what are the wood particles made of? They're made of atoms and electrons, and we keep breaking things down further and further and further. And there's a sense of complexity in this emptiness that exists. And that sort of complexity that exists in matter is what the Buddhists call shunyata. There are other metaphors for the concept of emptiness, but that's a pretty good one. The Mahayana Buddhists believe that enlightenment can happen in one lifetime. And there is a larger focus on rituals and ceremonies beyond the Theravadan tradition and other traditions. Because Buddhism is skillful means, it changes. It's organic. The religion is organic. The ideas are the same, but the organic process going through different cultures creates some filters and some differences that may exist from the original texts. Just like we apply science and materialistic viewpoints from the 21st century when we think about Buddhism. Calling Buddhism a psychology is a skillful means. Finally, there are some sects that describe multiple heavens, or what's called pure lands. So there is a sense that there are pure lands where people go to further their education and become enlightened. In these pure lands, there are Buddhas there who help beings become enlightened and spread the loving compassion throughout the universes. So these pure lands are beyond China, beyond the United States, beyond Japan, beyond other places. It's heaven. Where's heaven? That becomes a speculation the Buddha would not get into. Similar to the Eightfold Path in the Mahayana tradition, we have something called the six perfections, or the six paramitas. Number one is generosity, to give Dharma teachings, that's being generous, or time to other beings, being generous with your time to other beings. Morality is to follow the ethical guidelines for the benefit of all sentient beings. Patience, to recognize suffering in all beings, and to endure the hardships of life with a certain amount of joy and aspirations. It's patience. I think that defines patience in a very different way than, being relaxed. Effort or enthusiastic effort, that's the same as the Eightfold Path, to focus with energy on the ultimate goal of Buddhahood and leading others to that state as well. So meditation is not necessarily all the six perfections, but there's meditation. To hold a regular meditation practice, and wisdom is to recognize the emptiness, the shunyata of everyday life as a positive attribute of growth. We have a picture of the Bodhisattva of compassion, being generous with the teachings, having a good morality, showing patience, effort through patience, meditation in a standing position, and pure wisdom of emptiness that the Bodhisattva is sharing. We have some Mahayana Buddhist schools that I'll go into. There are lots of Buddhist schools. So these are not in any way all of them. One is Chan Buddhism. This is when Buddhism went to China. So this is a Chinese school beginning in the 6th century. It was highly influenced by the master Bodhidharma, and also has some Taoist traditions or influences within China. So Chan Buddhism interacts with Taoism in the China system. Like Taoism, we have something called Buddha nature. Buddha nature is part of the everyday life experience. From the Buddhist point of view, from the Chan point of view, everyone has Buddha nature or essence of Buddha within them already. So there's nothing that they have to really do. I mean, it's already there inside you. You just have to recognize it and let it grow naturally or organically. But the Chan Buddhists also focused on work. Work is a part of the enlightenment process. So you have work as part of that process. Zen Buddhism is Chan Buddhism in Japan. It's just it's what happened to Chan Buddhism. It moved from China to Korea, Vietnam, and finally to Japan. And Japan calls it Zen Buddhism. In Zen Buddhism, you have what's called a koan. This is like a riddle that the master gives the student. The master gives the student a riddle. Here's a riddle for you. What is the sound of one hand clapping? What is the sound of one hand clapping? So that's the koan that the master gives the student. After the student receives it, they meditate on the koan for days. It could be years. And from that koan, once they achieve an understanding of it, the koan is supposed to provide insight into the nature of mind. One hand clapping is emptiness, is shunyata. That's just a hint. Also, there's a recollection of Buddha through the mantra Namo Amitufo. I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing that correctly. I'm used to the other version, homage to Buddha Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, or Namo Amitabhaye would be the Sanskrit version, Namo Amitabhaye. So there's a sense of a mantra being used in Zen Buddhism that's connected to the Buddha Amitabha. So we have the Buddha Shakyamuni, the Siddhartha Gautama. He's considered the fourth Buddha from the earth. And Buddha Amitabha existed before, he was a Buddha before Shakyamuni came to the earth to present his teachings. Something else in Zen Buddhism that's interesting is the martial arts connection, or Budo, how it integrated into the Zen practices, and also the Japanese tea ceremony interplayed in the Zen Buddhist perspective. Oh, did you see the picture of them meditating facing a wall? That's in recollection of Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma faced a wall or a cave wall and meditated there, and ultimately the wall was dissolved by this concept of shunyata, emptiness. The wall still exists there, but it's really, it's matter, it's atoms, it's molecules, it's, you keep breaking down the wall and then there's nothing left to break down. And then you become enlightened through that situation. There's Tendai Buddhism. Tendai Buddhism started in China and moved to Vietnam, Korea, and Japan. Tendai Buddhism focused on this concept of one vehicle, a unified view of Buddhism through the study of the Lotus Sutra. So it focused on the Lotus Sutra, which is one of the main sutras that was passed down from the Mahayana traditions in India, and then translated into Chinese and then other languages too. The Lotus Sutra focuses on the Bodhisattva ideal, but also connects to the interconnectedness of all things in reality, everything. This sounds a little bit like Hinduism to a certain degree, this idea of Brahman, the interconnectedness of all things, but we know not to go too far into this concept of Brahmanism within Buddhist perspective. Buddha nature, all beings have the capacity to reach enlightenment. All the traditions believe that. All the Mahayana traditions use that term Buddha nature, just letting you know that it was stressed often in the Tendai Buddhist position. Next, we have Shingon Buddhism. Shingon Buddhism. This is an esoteric, mystical school of Buddhism. It's very much like the Vajrayana in Tibet. It focused specifically on the Vairocana Buddha, and we have a picture of the Vairocana Buddha in this image. It stressed the mantras like, Namo Amitabha, Namo Ami Buddha, Amitabha, sorry, Amitabha, not Ami Buddha. Mantras, mudras, hand gestures, and mandala reflect Buddha nature. Skillful means, once again, teachers are presented according to one's capacity to understand. Buddhahood can be attained in one lifetime through the esoteric practices of mantras, mudras, and mandala. They create a mystical situation, a mystical context to reach nirvana. Next, we have the Buddhist Pure Land system. We have Buddha Amitabha here in the picture. Buddha Amitabha is seen as red in color and usually has a couple of other bodhisattvas in the picture, like Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani. Pure Land Buddhism focused on Buddha Amitabha and his Pure Land. So after you die, you would go to the Pure Land if you were trained correctly, and continue learning how to become a Buddhist, how to become enlightened, and how to benefit other beings there too, through emanations. Pure Land Buddhism is rooted in the Bodhisattva ideal and further training in Amitabha's Pure Land after one's death. It's the recitation of Amitabha's name as part of the practice. Also, visualization of the Pure Land, its bodhisattvas, and Amitabha represents a path toward samadhi. Next, we have Nichiren Buddhism. Once again, similar to some of the Japanese and Chinese sects, Nichiren Buddhism focused on the Lotus Sutra as guidance for the practitioners. And it uses a specific mantra that is supposed to be the essence of the Lotus Sutra. And it is pronounced Namo Myoho Renge Kyoho. Namo Myoho Renge Kyoho. That is the mantra. And you say the mantra repeatedly for 30 minutes, maybe. Chant it. So it's chanting as meditation. I mean, you have meditation that's silent meditation. Then you have chanting of mantras that are also a kind of meditation. Buddha's teachings in the sutras should be relatable to contemporary times. That is a good position to hold within the Nichiren Buddhist perspective. That this tradition that's 4,000 or 3,000 years old, or however old it is, it should relate to the 21st century. So that's the Nichiren Buddhist point of view, even though it was presented in the 800 and 900 CE. Finally, we have the Vajrayana. The Vajrayana is part of the Himalayan tradition of the different parts of the Himalaya tradition: Mongolia, Tibet, Bhutan, even Nepal. So that area, the Himalaya region, is where the Vajrayana took hold. It's a secret mantra as well. It uses mantras, and I have some mantras here we'll go into in a second. The belief in the Bodhisattva and one life enlightenment is part of the identity of the Vajrayana tradition. It's mainly focused in Tibet, the Himalayan Buddhism. And here we have the Dalai Lama. There's a sense of guru devotion. That the Dalai Lama is not simply a human being from the Vajrayana perspective. He is a Buddha, an enlightened being that continues to be born. So he's the 14th Dalai Lama. The first Dalai Lama is the essence of the 14th Dalai Lama. So he's the reincarnation, the Tulku, as the Vajrayana tradition teaches. Tulku, Tulku. These are reborn masters from previous lifetimes. Are they actually the rebirth of the previous master? You would have to ask the Tulku. They would probably deny being the person that, the 12th Dalai Lama, the 5th Dalai Lama. I would say that the Dalai Lama would call himself just a simple monk. Beyond guru devotion, there's enlightenment through chanting of magical spells. That would be the mantras. The special hand gestures, that's called mudras. The various hand gestures that you see within the Buddhist tradition, that's mudras. And mystical diagrams, that's mandalas. So the mystical diagrams are the mandalas. It sounds superstitious: magic, hand gestures, mystical diagrams. One person that is a Buddhist monk said that we use our imaginations to understand the Vajrayana tradition. So the imagination is used quite often to maintain some kind of connection to Buddha nature. There's also secret teachings that occur between gurus and students, usually individually. one by one instead of a full community. Sometimes there's secret teachings given to an entire community, and then some that are secret and given to certain disciples who may need that particular teaching to attain enlightenment. From the Vajrayana tradition, there are mantras. There's Chenrezig Z, that's the Bodhisattva of compassion. This mantra is Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Padme, like a lotus flower. You are the jewel in the lotus is sort of what that transforms into, that you are the jewel in the middle of the lotus. And if you think about a lotus, it is born from the mud. So you are born from the mud, yet you're a perfect sapphire. You're a perfect jewel that's born out of the earth. Tara is one of the deities, yidams, or goddesses of Tibetan Buddhism and India. Her mantra is Om Tare Tutare Ture Soa, and you keep saying this repeatedly if you were doing the Tara mantra. There are many manifestations of Tara. She's typically seen as a green bodhisattva, green, but there's white Tara. That's the longevity Buddha. There are different versions of Tara. There's something called the 21 praises of Tara, the 21 different incarnations of Tara. So all these different deities equal one, equal Buddha, equal your Buddha nature. So while you're thinking of Tara as some kind of deity outside yourself, really the point is to see yourself as Tara, see your own Buddha nature. So that becomes less speculative, less focused on goddess or God worship, and more focused on self-realizing one's own Buddha nature. That's why these deities are used. Padmasambhava or Guru Rinpoche was a person who entered Tibet and provided Tibet with the Vajrayana tradition. He was one of the founding members of the Vajrayana tradition. So he's widely popularized. There's something that he wrote called the Tibetan Book of the Dead that's still being read to this day. And his mantra is Oma Hom Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hom. You may see a few words that you know. Notice all these mantras begin with Om. Then Hum is a Sanskrit word, also a Tibetan word. Vajra is like this object that you hold in your hand that represents the diamond, like your Buddha nature is the diamond. And then Guru, we know what Guru means. Padma is his name, Padmasambhava. Siddhi means meditation, where you reach a certain siddhi within your meditation schedule or your meditation place. That's deep samadhi is what it's talking about, deep samadhi in meditation. A little bit more about the Vajrayana, the sort of the inner yoga teachings. This is relates to esoteric Buddhism. You have what's called tumo, which means inner heat. One gains control over the subtle body processes to develop an understanding of emptiness of the body, speech, and mind. So this practice of tumo, the Buddhists will meditate outside. They will hold their breath. They will do some visualizations, and heat will form in their bodies. And if you hold your breath, please do not. But if you do hold your breath, like in a swimming pool or something, you'll get a little bit of heat. So that's tumo that's used to connect to the emptiness of the body, speech, and mind. They practice also something called dream yoga, recognizing the emptiness and illusions of dreams as the state of enlightenment. Do you ever get scared in your dreams? Have you noticed that your dreams are not real, that they're just manifestations and illusions within your mind? Yet we take them as to be so real. From a dream yoga perspective, you're supposed to connect to your dreams from a less real perspective, to recognize your dreams as simply an illusion. Bardo practices. Bardo is this intermediate state between birth and rebirth. So it's after you pass away, then you enter the bardo of death and the bardo of between birth and rebirth. And the idea here is to watch the various states of existence in the bardo as a path to elimination. Since you haven't died yet, it's kind of a difficult process to think about. What happens after you die? The Tibetan Buddhists and many other Buddhists believe there's this intermediate state that you can still become enlightened. So that intermediate state, there's a chance that you can still become enlightened because things begin to unfold. Your body begins to rot. The chemistry begins to change. So there's that sense that the consciousness has left the body and it can achieve a state of liberation. Finally, there's Poa. Poa is an end-of-life practice that releases the subtle consciousness during the death process. And in this picture, we have this interchange between, he's practicing Tumo on his mat, and you see this burning fire from the top of his head. That's Poa. He's releasing his consciousness, or he's practicing the release of his consciousness at the time of death. And Poa, you would literally the top of the head would open up and allow the release of the consciousness. So that's Poa. So that's some of the Vajrayana teachings that are different from maybe your traditional Theravada types of meditation that go into what's called the completion stage yoga, the inner yogas of the esoteric Buddhism. That's about it from now. There's certainly other things that we could talk about in terms of Buddhism. I hope you learned some things today. And I hope you can apply some of this to your, I guess, to your reality or to your belief system and disagree with it as well. Thank you.